What if one family could transform an entire city and ignite a cultural revolution that changed the course of history? That's exactly what the Medici family did in Florence. From humble beginnings as bankers, the Medici rose to become the most influential patrons of art, science, and philosophy the world had ever seen. Their vision and wealth turned Florence into the cradle of the Renaissance, a city that redefined creativity and innovation. This is their extraordinary story. The Medici family's journey to power began with Giovanni de' Medici, a savvy businessman who founded the Medici Bank in the early 15th century. The bank quickly became one of the most powerful financial institutions in Europe, managing the accounts of kings, merchants, and even the papacy. Giovanni's innovations in banking practices, such as double-entry bookkeeping and diversified investments, helped the Medici amass enormous wealth and establish their reputation as trusted financiers. With wealth came influence. Giovanni used his resources to quietly support candidates for political office in Florence, helping shape the city's government while avoiding direct rule. This strategic subtlety allowed the Medici to build a foundation of power without alienating Florence's fiercely republican citizens. When Giovanni died in 1429, he left behind a thriving bank and a family poised to dominate Florentine politics. His son, Cosimo de' Medici, known as Cosimo the Elder, took the family's influence to new heights. Cosimo expanded the Medici Bank's reach across Europe, managing branches in cities like Venice and Geneva. With his growing fortune, Cosimo became Florence's de facto ruler, even though he held no official title. He carefully navigated the city's complex political landscape using diplomacy, patronage, and alliances to consolidate power. Under Cosimo's leadership, Florence entered a period of stability and prosperity. He was a generous patron of the arts and learning, funding the construction of libraries, churches, and public works that benefited all Florentines. Cosimo's investments in culture and infrastructure earned him the title Pater Patria, Father of the Fatherland. The Medici's influence extended beyond Florence's borders. They cultivated relationships with powerful figures across Europe, positioning Florence as a key player in international politics. Their financial clout and strategic alliances gave the family unparalleled leverage, making them not just bankers, but kingmakers. By the time of Cosimo's death in 1464, the Medici had transformed from wealthy merchants into the unchallenged leaders of Florence. Their ability to balance power with public approval set the stage for their dynasty's enduring legacy. What began as a banking empire would soon evolve into one of the most influential families in the history of art, science, and culture. The Medici family's greatest legacy lies in their unparalleled patronage of the arts. They understood that art and architecture were not only expressions of creativity, but also tools to enhance their family's prestige and transform Florence into a beacon of cultural brilliance. By investing heavily in the work of artists, architects, and sculptors, the Medici played a pivotal role in the development of the Renaissance. It all began with Cosimo de' Medici, who set the tone for the family's patronage. Cosimo funded the construction of libraries, churches, and other public works, many of which remain iconic landmarks in Florence today. One of his most significant contributions was the completion of the Florence Cathedral's dome, designed by the visionary architect Filippo Brunelleschi. The dome, an engineering marvel of its time, symbolized Florence's creative and technological prowess, elevating the city's status across Europe. Cosimo also supported sculptors like Donatello, whose bronze statue of David became one of the earliest examples of Renaissance art breaking free from medieval traditions. The Medici's backing allowed artists to experiment and push boundaries, setting the stage for a cultural revolution. The family's commitment to the arts reached its peak under Lorenzo de' Medici, famously known as Lorenzo the Magnificent. Lorenzo was not just a patron, but also a close friend and confidant to many of the great artists of the Renaissance. He cultivated relationships with talents such as Sandro Botticelli, Leonardo da Vinci, and a young Michelangelo Buonarroti. Lorenzo's encouragement and financial support enabled these artists to create some of their most iconic works. One of Lorenzo's most enduring contributions was his support for Botticelli, whose masterpieces like The Birth of Venus and Primavera were commissioned under the Medici patronage. These paintings embodied the humanist ideals of the Renaissance, celebrating beauty, mythology, and the natural world. Lorenzo's influence expanded beyond individual commissions. He invested in public art and architectural projects that transformed Florence into an open-air gallery. The family's funding helped create structures like the Medici Chapel, the San Lorenzo Basilica, designed by architects such as Michelangelo and later Michelangelo. These projects combined innovative design with the grandeur of Renaissance aesthetics, ensuring that Florence itself became a living work of art. The Medici's support of the arts was not limited to visual masterpieces. They also championed music and literature, hosting poets, composers, and philosophers in their courts. Lorenzo himself was an accomplished poet, and his circle of intellectuals promoted humanist ideals that deeply influenced Renaissance culture. By investing in art and architecture, the Medici elevated Florence's reputation as the cultural capital of Europe. Their patronage created opportunities for artists to explore new techniques, themes, and perspectives, fostering the innovation that defined the Renaissance. But their support wasn't purely altruistic. It was also a way to solidify their power. By associating their name with beauty and progress, the Medici cemented their legacy not only as political leaders but also as cultural visionaries. The Medici's influence on the arts didn't stop with Lorenzo. Future generations continued to commission groundbreaking works, ensuring that Florence remained a hub of creativity for centuries. The Renaissance as we know it would not have been possible without their unwavering commitment to fostering artistic excellence. The Medici's patronage left an indelible mark on Florence, transforming the city into a symbol of human achievement and creative genius. The Medici's family's patronage extended far beyond the visual arts, shaping the intellectual and scientific advancements of the Renaissance. Their support for humanism, a movement centered on the study of classical texts and potential human achievement, helped redefine the way people thought about themselves and the world. Humanism flourished under Medici patronage, particularly during the reign of Cosimo de' Medici. He established the Platonic Academy of Florence, a center of philosophy study inspired by the works of ancient Greek philosopher Plato. Under the leadership of Marsilio Ficino, a scholar and translator, the Academy translated Plato's works into Latin, making them accessible to a wider audience. Ficino's writings combined classical ideas with Christian theology, shaping Renaissance thought and influencing intellectuals across Europe. The Medici patronage of humanist scholars also extended to figures like Giovanni Pico della Mirandola, a philosopher known for his groundbreaking work, Oration on the Dignity of Man. Supported by Lorenzo de' Medici, Pico argued that human beings possessed unlimited potential, a radical idea that became a cornerstone of Renaissance humanism. They provided financial support and protection to Galileo Galilei, one of history's most famous scientists. Galileo, who served as a tutor to Medici princes, dedicated many of his discoveries to the family, including his observations of Jupiter's moons, which he named the Medicean stars in their honor. The Medici's backing allowed Galileo to conduct his groundbreaking research despite his opposition from religious authorities. The Medici also invested in the preservation and dissemination of knowledge. Cosimo founded the Medici Library, which housed one of the largest collections of ancient manuscripts in Europe. This library preserved invaluable classic texts that might have been lost to history and provided scholars with the resources they needed to advance Renaissance thought. The library became a symbol of Medici's commitment to education and intellectual growth. Through their patronage of philosophy, science, and education, the Medici helped usher in an intellectual revolution. By funding the revival of classical knowledge and encouraging innovation, they laid the groundwork for advancements in astronomy, mathematics, and political thought. The Medici didn't just build a city of artists, they built a city of thinkers. Their legacy in the intellectual realm ensured that Florence became not only a cradle of the art, but also a cradle of ideas that would shape the modern world. The Medici journey was not without challenges. Their rise to power and dominance in Florence sparked envy and opposition from rival families. The most infamous of these conflicts was the Pazzi conspiracy of 1478, in which the Pazzi family, with backing from external forces, attempted to assassinate Lorenzo de' Medici and his brother Giuliano. While Giuliano was killed, Lorenzo survived, solidifying his control over Florence and earning the loyalty of his citizens. Despite their immense influence, the Medici were not invincible. They faced periods of exile, such as 1494, when the family was temporarily ousted following the rise of Dominican friar Girolamo Savonarola, who preached against their lavish lifestyle and cultural patronage. However, the Medici eventually regained control, with later generations continuing their legacy of leadership and cultural investment. The Medici's greatest legacy lies in the transformations of Florence into a global center of art, science, and humanist thought. Their patronage of figures like Brunelleschi, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Galileo ensured the Renaissance flourished not just in Florence but across Europe. Their influence extended beyond the arts to politics, where they played a key role in shaping European diplomacy. Even after the Medici dynasty faded, their impact remained inevitable. Florence, often referred to as the cradle of the Renaissance, owes much of its cultural identity and global reputation to the Medici's vision. Today, their contributions to art, architecture, and knowledge continue to inspire, proving their legacy is as enduring as the masterpieces they helped create. The story of the Medici family is a testament to how wealth, ambition, and creativity can shape history forever.